All right, Nick, draft night is right around the corner, and New Orleans Saints fans have got to be dying to know who the Saints are looking to pick, Nick. But we have a story today on a guy the Saints have really been dialing in on, and I think it's going to be very interesting, and Saints fans are going to love it if they pick this guy.
Yeah, Miles, this prospect, you and I have talked about him. This guy could be one of the gems of the draft. And that leads us into the question today that we have for Saints fans. Obviously, getting a gem in the draft is the goal. But we want to ask you guys, draft night right around the corner, what is the most surprising move, good or bad, successful or not, that the Saints have ever done on draft night? Crazy trades, crazy moves, whatever it may be. Let us know in the comment section below the most surprising move the New Orleans Saints have ever done on draft night. And make sure, as always, you stay tuned to the end of the video to hear a word from the partner of today's video, and that's Neuro. But all right, Miles, what you got? Tell us about this prospect New Orleans is eyeing.
Yeah, Nick. So when you think New Orleans, this is a team that's made a lot of upgrades around the ball. Of course, they re-signed Michael Thomas. They have Chris Olave. They have Rashid Shaheed. All good receivers. They look good there. They made a really great signing, Juwan Johnson. They got Derek Carr. So the offense pretty much set as far as that goes. The defense has traditionally been very good, but the interior of that defensive line could use a little bit of help. And that is why I think the Saints have really been digging into one defensive lineman in particular. And I'm going to get into the story right here, Nick. According to Tony Pauline, the Saints have been digging deep into Calijah Kancey and burning the phone lines, talking with his coaches at Pittsburgh recently to get as much detail as possible on this defensive tackle. Well, Nick, that is a very smart move because as we dig into Kancey, as we look into his background, he seems to be an incredible player. He's ranked number 14 on the PFF Big Board, and that goes without saying. He has been a stud the last couple years at Pitt, and I couldn't possibly think of a Pitt D lineman who's been absolutely incredible in the NFL. So not saying this is going to be the next Aaron Donald, but, we heard it here first. This guy's got 92.4 pass rush grade, 80.9 run defensive grade, and he's just been getting better and better every single season he was at Pitt. He looks to be a stud, and I can tell why the Saints have absolutely been knocking down every door to find out everything about this guy possible. But Nick, what do you think about the prospect of Calijah Kancey going to the New Orleans Saints?
So Cancey is that classic prospect where teams overevaluate themselves and they get into trouble because Cancey's like, oh, he's not as tall as we'd like. He's a little undersized, yada, yada, yada. The dude is just a really, really good football player. You brought up his PFF rating. According to the film, he grades out ridiculously high. But of course, the media and everyone, the coaches who actually followed his college career agree 100%. He was an ACC Defensive Player of the Year as a junior. He was a first-team All-American. This guy played against top-flight competition in the ACC. He did it for multiple years, played a lot of good football, was very productive, is a great athlete, Miles. This guy's 6'1", 280 pounds, and ran a 4.67 40-yard dash with a 1.64 10-yard split. That's like 98th level percentile for a defensive lineman. So it's rare, right? You got a guy who's extremely productive, was a great player in college, is also a great athlete. But because he's, not 6'4", hey, listen, we don't want to take a top 10 pick on him. This guy is one of these classic guys that'll fall to a team like the Saints, maybe at the back end of the first round. When you go back in the 10 years down the road, you'll be like, how did everyone miss on this guy? I think that he's going to be a phenomenal football player in the next level because you look at their scouting report on him, it's just unbelievable because they sit there and say like look at this from Lance Zierlein over NFL.com. His first word about describing him is undersized, but the very next word is explosive and productive. He's a strong and determined player. It's like they can't get past the fact that just because he's not the ideal height, they undermines all of his explosiveness, his talent levels, production, which to me is just ridiculous. I think any team that gets him is going to get a heck of a player. And the fact that the Saints are targeting him is a great decision by Mickey Loomis and company.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's like teams are being like, well, he's the greatest player we've ever seen, and he does everything without any problems whatsoever, but he's 6'1", so we don't quite know if he's going to be able to perform. That's not the case. And over on PFF, their draft profile of him, they say some really interesting stuff. I really kind of like the words they use here, Nick. But first, his first step quickness as good as you'll see from a defensive tackle prospect, and it presents so many problems. And then the next one is my favorite. They say he is a leverage demon. He gives linemen a no-strike zone to hit. And finally, he understands how to rush the passer. He can string together moves, has lethal combinations in his pass rush game. But Nick, as a former offensive lineman, I'm sure you can assure people First step quickness from a defensive lineman is very, very important. And if you can judge the snap count, get that first step out as fast as possible, it gives the offensive lineman a lot of trouble.
Oh yeah, and just don't take my word for it. Look at the best defensive lineman in the NFL, best pass rusher in the NFL. Look at Aaron Donald, undersized. Micah Parsons, undersized for a pass rusher. The Bosa's are considered undersized for pass rushers. The whole size game really doesn't matter as much as it is. It's all about first step. It's all about production. It's about understanding how to use your hands, how to use leverage. And evidently, this guy's a demon at using leverage, which is a great sign for him going forward. Like we've been talking about, Miles, I think this guy is going to be just an absolute game wrecker at the next level. I think the Saints, if they get this guy, they should really focus on getting him to replace Onyemata, who obviously is no longer with New Orleans. I think this is a guy who can step in and be a big time player for this franchise right away. This would be a great move for New Orleans if they can pull this off. All right, Miles, we would like to give a special thanks to our partner today's video, Neuro.
That's right, Nick. And I want you to go with me on a journey really fast. I want you to imagine this. It's 4th and goal in the big game, Nick. Your team is relying on you to make the big time game winning play. I know you've been in this situation before, Nick. The stadium is roaring. The clock is ticking. The game is on the line. But if only in that moment you were able to have some Neuro Gum. Neuro Gum will help you stay concentrated, and it gives you a burst of energy without a nasty crash.
That's right, Miles. Neuro has thoughtfully curated ingredients and does endless lab testing, which means that you can reach the right state of mind safely and consistently. That's the most important part. It gives you a clean burst of energy and focus without the jitters of coffee or any of those other energy drinks.
That's right, Nick. And if you click our sponsor link in the description below, you can enjoy energy, calm, and focus whenever you need it.